All right. As Amaka said, we're going to talk today about, your first 90 days as a change practitioner, moving from that rookie stage to trusted advisor stage, right? And some of these principles or the framework that I am going to introduce you to today, it can be applied in any career that you're seeking, whether you're a BA or a PM, right? Just think about your first 90 days on a job, right? Even being a bank teller, right? So any job, any operational type of job, project related type of job, these framework points you'll be able to use. So I want today to be engaging, right? So this is the journey that we have planned for you. So we'll first talk about the 90 days success framework that you can use. We'll talk about common mistakes that come up in as a rookie and how to avoid them once you know how to identify those mistakes. We will introduce you to some of the programs that is available on our platform, like career development program, mentoring, coaching, that is available to you to leverage. Then you will take away that 90-day checklist, success checklist, for you to use on your own. And I'm hoping that you utilize these checklists because once you're intentional about your first 90 days, you'll definitely get to that trusted advisor stage. And then we're going to talk about building your change management toolkit. What is it that you need to understand how these work? Okay. Now we'll kickstart by doing a poll. I want to understand, like, you're here, you're joining us, and Amaka is going to launch a poll, and I want to get an idea of what's your biggest challenge in your new change management role, right? So, and you might be on this platform or this webinar today, and you're not a change manager, right? You're interested in being a change manager. You might be in another role that you are asked to do change management or execute change management responsibilities. So tell me your thoughts on what are some of the biggest challenge you think you will face. So I'll give you a few seconds to look at the options. So the first one is understanding the organization politics, knowing where to start, managing resistance, and proving value to leadership. Amaka, was the poll launched? Yep. Okay.
Yes, yes, we have yeah, people are voting.
All right. Is there a way to see the results?
Show everyone the results.
I'm trying to see what the results are before we move on.
So maybe I should end the poll so you can see the results.
Yes. Okay. I'm not seeing the results on my end. So can you share with me some of the
Yeah,
results?
yes, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have knowing where to start for two persons. Two people voted for knowing where to start, and the other one says managing resistance. So we have three votes here.
Okay. So we have knowing where to start and managing resistance. That's the
Yes.
challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll make a note of that. Okay. All right. So the good thing is that we're going to talk about how to start, right? So we're introducing you to a framework of what you need to do in the first couple of weeks leading up to the 90 days. We'll talk about managing resistance as well. We'll touch on that. When you think about resistance, resistance is an end result of something that we're not doing as change practitioners, right? And we'll dive a little bit into that as well. I want to get an idea and I want persons to just drop in the chat and I'll check the chat. How many change managers are on this call? Like, you can just say, I'm a change manager, or I have change management responsibility, or I am trying to get a change management job. So drop in the chat right now, like, where are you on that scale? So I can have an idea of the audience. Okay. Okay. So feel free to drop in the chat. I am a change manager. I just want to know, just learn a few things about the first 90 days. I have change management responsibilities. So I want to understand that to get a feel of. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to get into change management, trying to get into a change management role. I'm a change manager. Awesome. So can I probe a little bit? Emma, are you a new change manager, or like you're still in your 90 days, or you're just part of that learning journey? So feel free and I'll check back. All right. So we have two persons saying they're trying to get in that change management role. Okay, 2 years. Awesome. That is really good. So the Emma, you can drop in the chat some of those key points, like things that help you to be that trusted advisor within the change management space. So that's great. All right, so let's talk about the 90 days success framework. All right. So remember your first day at any new job, the mix of excitement and terror. Right? So imagine that feeling. If you think about that very first job you had, but you are responsible for helping. No, as a change practitioner, you are responsible for helping an entire organization change. So that's the reality of new change managers. The good news is, with the right approach, your first 90 days can set you up for years of success. Right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that 90 days success framework. Now, in the earlier poll that I've asked, we asked what are some of the biggest challenges of a change practitioner? And the response is knowing where to start. So we're going to dive into what that first 90 days will look like, and here are some of the recommendations. So we're good, and this is where I'm going to spend the bulk of the time over the next 15 to 20 minutes to comb through this. You can take it, you have to be intentional about using it for it to actually work for you. Now, if you think about your first 2 weeks on a job, right? You definitely don't know where to start. Sometimes you can say, oh, you're a senior person, you've been doing change management for a number of years, or not only change management, but just other roles, right? What you want to understand and what we are recommending when you go into an organization, learn about the organization. In your first 1 to 2 weeks, you want to map the culture and the politics. You want to focus on this because having this knowledge is power. You need to identify, and it's important, especially for change managers, the formal versus the informal structures that exist within an organization. So you need to know who is who in the zoo, right? Knowing the formal and informal power structures is important. Leaders are responsible to lead change within an organization. Understanding past experience with any sort of change initiative. So if a change was introduced to a team, a group, the entire organization, was it successful? Was it a failure? You want to be curious and ask, what are the experience with these changes that were introduced previously? So these are the type of situation that you want to place yourself in. And I must tell you, understanding culture and how stuff work within the organization, you spend some time there, right? Spend your time reading about that, observing, listening. Listening is a key skill to develop for any change practitioner. Not a lot of times when we start a new job, I've seen where people want to prove to people, I know this or I know that. What you want to do is to listen to the stakeholders that you're going to serve. Now, in week 3 to 4 is stakeholder discovery period. Now, what you want to happen here is building your initial stakeholder map. Now, if you had done your assignment of understanding formal versus informal power structures, that particular activity can inform building your initial stakeholder map. Now, some of us are hired based on a particular project, right? You want to understand the formal and informal structures surrounding that initiative. Your stakeholder map is going to be about all those individuals, groups, team that will be impacted by the initiative that you're going to undertake. A key one that I want to recommend, and not a lot of people do it, is conducting coffee chat. Scheduling coffee chat, whether it be in the virtual meetup, meet and greet, this is important. It's key for a change practitioner, and I don't think this is unique to change practitioners, to build relationships. So you want to build relationships with persons within the organization. I said early, listen. You in these conversation, the coffee chat, the meet and greet, you want to listen for pain points. You want to identify resistance signal, right? Try to understand what keeps the leaders up at night. These are some of the things that you want to bring out in those coffee chat. A lot of people underestimate the value of these little 15 minutes meetup, but it's very powerful. And you're going to hear me say powerful because really what we want you to do is to take this 90 days framework and action it, leaving this webinar. So we've looked at week 1 to 2. We look at 3 to 4. Let's talk about 5 to 6, right? So the first formal assessment. Basically, you're using week 1 to 4 to kind of grow and learn what's happening within the organization. And everything is like a follow on. Now, week 5 to 6, you're going to complete. If you are assigned a project, you want to complete your first change impact assessment. Now, there are different types of change managers. And what do I mean by that? You have internal change managers and you have external change managers, right? The external ones, I would say they are like consultants and they come in for a small period of time. The internal one, you're hired directly by that organization. Oftentimes, even though I'm telling you that, your first 5 to 6 weeks, this is when you want to start to do your change impact assessment. But sometimes the expectation is that, you know what, you're going to come in and hit the ground running, right? But as a change practitioner, if you want to, how would I say, hack the first 1 to 3 weeks activity, is important that you still conduct these activities, right? So if you want to do 1 to 4 in 2 weeks, I do recommend that you still conduct these activities. So in your first change impact assessment, right, there are a few things that you want to understand. You're not going to know everything all at once. So some of the key questions is you want to walk me through a typical day in your role. How does this project or initiative fit into that? Because you really want to understand how people work today. You want to understand what's working well in the current process that they want to protect. Now, you want to think about what are some of those biggest pain points. And I mentioned this earlier. What frustrate them right now about the process that you're executing, because you want to identify, what they're comfortable with. Because at this is how, as a rookie, you're going to identify value, learning about the different stakeholders. So if you understand their pain points and their frustration, it's going to feed how you help them navigate the change that will be introduced. You want them to tell you about past changes they have experienced. So you have those individual coffee chat, but also your change impact assessment is going to offer you like a wider group. So you want to understand what went well and what didn't. And these are very high level questions that you want to be thinking about as a rookie to, you're asking the right questions. Document. So earlier I mentioned doing a stakeholder map. In week 5 to 6, you're going to think about documenting your stakeholder analysis, right? Performing that stakeholder analysis session, having that the list. So you have your stakeholder register. So you have that list of stakeholders. And this, I'm not going to say it's going to take one day. It's going to be a series of meetings to do the analysis, depending of the size of the impact, right? Presenting, like sharing your findings with leadership. So you have to have that conversation with leadership to say, okay, based on talking to the stakeholders, this is what I'm learning, because you're trying to build to that trusted advisor. So sharing information with leadership is also very good, because you want to show them that you're doing the work, and it will allow them to gain confidence in some of the things that you are executing. Now, week 7 to 8, we're thinking here about quick wins strategy. So I have here identify low effort, high impact opportunities. Now, for example, what do I call low effort, high impact opportunities? One of the key things in speaking to the leaders, and I did not mention this earlier, so let me mention, is understanding how they like to receive information, right? A lot of times, and there's no right or wrong answer for this. A lot of the times we go in and we present our ways of working, right? However, it's important to understand the leader's ways of working. And then if you identify ways that they could improve, you make your recommendation. So some low effort, high impact opportunities as a change practitioner is stuff like status dashboard, right? Showing them information through a dashboard, sharing change update, right? I have here email, probably change update via email, but the key things is to understand how the leaders want to receive, the people leaders want to receive the information. Because you and I know we're all working, we are bombarded with emails like daily. Another thing that you can do as a identifying low effort, high impact opportunity is this clarifying confusing communication. So trying to be clear and concise. They might not understand certain communication. You just remove all those ambiguities within the communication that is being shared. This will help them to develop trust in you and what you're sharing. Observing the leaders, and I said this before, how best they work, right? Facilitating the first stakeholder workshop. So building that momentum. So we talk about documenting the stakeholder analysis. The reason I said that earlier, so you have to do your own review. Look at the project documents, put the stakeholders in a list, whether you want to put it on a SharePoint site or Excel. There's so many tools nowadays that you can do your stakeholder analysis. A popular one in the change management space is Strackle, right? Using the Strackle tool to document our stakeholder analysis if your organization have those tools or the license to those tools. Then now back to just building momentum through small successes. So if you do something that a leader or a people leader like, use that as a momentum. Continue to do it, right? Don't just do it once and just drop off the back wagon. Continuing to do that. So the big one, let's talk about the we're going to talk about, hold on, I think I missed something. Yes. Okay, so somehow I missed my count. Sorry about that. It's supposed to be week 10, 9 to 10. We want to establish and expand, right? So we want to measure and communicate early results. So you can see that all of these activities they're leading into each other. Handling resistance professionally. So earlier, someone mentioned managing resistance, right? In terms of the challenge that they might face as a change practitioner. Every time we hear about change management, we hear about resistance. So resistance itself can be a whole webinar, probably a whole course on it uh, by itself. And I'm going to talk about, I will touch a little bit on resistance, but typically what happened is that it's an end result. And in your first 90 days, what you really want to focus on is building relationships, right? You want to ensure that you understand how different leaders work. Now, we're living in a world where we're doing a lot of email kind of communication. We're living in a world where we're in big meetings, a lot of virtual meetings, people turning off camera. But I find when you do a virtual face-to-face and talk to someone or doing a coffee chat, telling you something that my colleagues and I talk about all the time, what works for them in terms of building relationship, right? And managing resistance. The people and work on building those relationship and gaining that trust, right? The managing the resistant part is more the operational part. And yes, you will have resistance at the leadership level, but it's really about listening to them and really what keeps them up at night. We want to position ourselves as change manager for that next project, right? So even though we're working on one now, We want to show them that we have the capability to execute or continue on the next project. And then in the final weeks, it's about building your brand within the organization. So establishing yourself as a go-to change individual. So keep learning, change trends. The organization itself, you're not going to know about the politics, the organization, culture in just one go. Give yourself grace. Earlier, I was talking to my colleagues, and one of the statements I wrote down that came through the conversation, it takes time for you to adjust, right? You have to be intentional about what you want to achieve. So you're in those 11 to 12 weeks, you want to build your brand, sharing information with the stakeholder groups about the project and what is it that you're learning. And also don't try to do things by yourself. Work with the teams that you are trying to build that relationship with. Collaborate in terms of the decision, the strategy, and the plan. Now, develop your internal network. Those meet and greet will help you to develop your internal network. I'm here and I mention people leaders, but it is very important in your first 90 days to meet stakeholders at all levels. Try to have a deep understanding of their concerns, right? And over time, you continue to do that because believe it or not, 90 days come like really quickly. The first 3 months will run off like really fast. Then, no, another thing that you can do is create reusable tools and processes. Now, if you are in a company that does not have any change management center of excellence, as a new change practitioner, you are positioned well to introduce them to change management tools like, a change readiness assessment, a change impact assessment tool, maybe a communication plan, an engagement plan. Strategies, it's hard to have a template for a strategy because depending on the initiative, each strategy in implementing the change might be different. You might follow a particular framework, however, the strategy for the change might, you have to tweak it. But just being able to introduce them to tools. And this is how you show your value in terms of change, like a new change manager that there's no frame center of excellence in place. There has never been a change management department. Now, if you are like you're hired in an organization that have all of these things, you have to review some of the tools and see where they can improve, right? And maybe one is missing, and a good one is keeping abreast of the lessons that you're learning each day. And based on the lessons that you're learning each day. So a practice that I have that I'll share with you is that each day I reflect on the day. No, you don't have to do it on the day, but you can do it on the week. It depends on what best works for you. I said, what have I learned today? What could I do a little bit different tomorrow? What was missing? So I ask myself, I have that internal conversation, and I always have my little notebook. If you ask me a question and it's something that I need to think about, I have it written down. So that's a good practice, and you just improve each day as we go along. All right. Now, with that said, that is our 90 days success framework. And this particular framework I've actually passed by a number of change managers within our circle, and not only change managers, but also process analysts, business analysts, project manager, and to say, can you test this framework? What did you do differently? Right. And they said these are some of the things that, I've been doing, and some of the things they said they wish they would have done or have known this before. So if you're intentional about moving from that rookie stage to trusted advisor stage, this is a recommended framework that you can practice, right? You can definitely practice on. A lot of us do stay in that rookie stage longer than we should, but as change practitioner, and not only change, I keep saying change practitioner because, of course, I'm in the change management space. We are, it's important for us to be that trusted advisor to the stakeholders that we're dealing with, right? We're helping them to navigate change. We're coaching them sometimes based on some of our findings in the work that we are executing. Right? Now, let me introduce you to, and I'll move to, or organization change management training that is offered by Pollard Learning. No, it is a 6-week training program. And the goal of the program really is to give you real life examples of what you can work through. So what we have is going through that change management process, what you need to do, the tools, and using real life examples, and you're working through. So we want to position you as a rookie to be that trusted advisor with this particular program. So if you there's more to learn, right? There is the link at the bottom of the page, pollardconsult.com/org change management dash CDP. And you learn more. You can sign up there about our program. The class will start on September 13th. It happens on a Saturday. I do not have the time here, but it's typically a 3-hour class on a Saturday, and it runs for 6 weeks. With the program, you'll definitely have access, as I said, to tools, templates that you can use, and we'll give you real life projects that we've worked on to kind of work through to help you within the organization that you're working. To complement that, if you don't want to be with that 6 weeks program, we do have personalized coaching and mentoring, right, as a part of our program. Now, this is done by appointment. What you will get from this particular session is there are different offerings. So you can get your resume reviewed. So a number of you said that, okay, I'm trying to get into change management. So you can look at this offering. We try to review your resume, help you to tailor that resume to the change management post that you're applying for. We do practice interviews for change management as well. All right. So with the coaching and mentoring option, you will be well supported in terms of, so this is something that you can look into, and it's done by appointment. Also here on the platform, we offer the ProSci certified change management certificate for change practitioners, right? So you can also, it's a 3-day course. You can also take that option up as well. And on our website, you will be able to find out more information. I hope that, yes, on this one. No, moving on. I have a question. So earlier, I mentioned, and I'm going to ask Amaka to launch the poll. I've mentioned the importance of mapping formal versus informal power structures, right? And knowing who is who in the zoo. What's the main reason this is critical for new change managers? So Amaka, you can launch the poll.
Yes, the poll
Somehow
has
I'm not
been.
okay. Somehow I'm not able to see the poll. So take some time and let me see if you were paying attention. So I mentioned that, it's important to know. So select Is it to create the organization chart for your manager? Is it to understand where real decision power lies? Is it to identify who to invite to the meeting? Is it to avoid stepping on toes? What do you think? I see some answers coming in the chat. We need to have B, so you can, I think you can close the poll right now. Amaka. And let me know what the results are. So the B, I see B is, it's popular to understand where the real decision-making power lies. That's what I'm seeing in the chat. Is that the same on the poll?
Yes, I think they just used the chat to answer the question, so that's correct.
Okay, all right. So that answer is correct, right? It's about focusing on the power, understanding who really influenced the decision versus who just have that formal title. So this knowledge helps you as a change practitioner to navigate the organization effectively and engage in the right people to make successful decisions. Leaders, people leaders, they're the ones who want to coach when we find our information out, encourage to lead the change, develop their skills, because people really listen to their immediate leaders, right? That's just the reality. Not the change manager. A lot of times we leaders for success to lead the Can you guys hear me? I think I've lost connection.
We can hear you now. Can hear you.
Are you hearing me?
Yes. But we're losing you also.
All right. So
It's not steady. Yes, now. Yes.
okay. All right. So I was asking you to launch the poll that says I've stressed the importance of never underestimating the power of
something is. Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I lost connection right in the middle of the webinar. So I am not sure what you guys heard from what you did not. So what are you seeing? Are you
Yeah.
seeing my notes or are you seeing the actual? Because my thing is not
Okay,
working
we're
properly.
seeing the quick poll for the last poll question on the screen. That is what we are seeing right now. And we've launched I launched the question, the poll.
Mm.
So we are seeing your screen now. Yes, the slides, but with the
All right, just give me 2 seconds to start myself out because I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not, as long as you're hearing me, I am going to blindly share. I can see what I can share, but I can't see what's been displayed. I can only see my notes. Share. Okay, the share button is sharing. Can you confirm you're seeing the screen and what you're seeing, please?
okay. We the screen here showing up is the quick poll for the question. I have stressed the importance of never underestimating the power of meet and greets. That is what we are seeing right now on the screen.
Okay. All right. I think we're back. All right. Thank you so much for your patience. All right. I apologize for that. This doesn't normally happen, but it happens, right? So thank you for your patience and still staying on through this technical difficulty. All right. So did they respond? Should I read it over? Was it completed? Did everybody get enough time to? Was it in the chat? Let me check. So I'm not seeing the chat activities anymore. So can you let me know what the results were?
Okay. Nobody. I think I will just maybe just they should just answer on the chats because no one is responded yet. So on the poll.
All right. All right. So that's good. Let's talk about. So earlier, I talked about the importance of never underestimating the power of meet and greet, right? So during that 3 to 4 weeks, what should you be listening for in these informal conversations?
Some answers popped in on the chat, so you can go through the chat.
Okay, B, all right? Yeah. So it's important to to listen out for the individual's pain points, their concerns. It's these are what is gonna help you with identifying the resistance and thinking of ways to tackle that, right? Working collaboratively with the teams to come up with the key activities to tackle resistance, right? These conversations are about understanding their real concerns. So when you're meeting and greeting and understanding their challenges, the things that truly matter to people, right? So that's important. The this helps you in position the change in a way that will address their actual needs and concerns. So this is what you want to listen for: the pain points, the concern, the resistance signal, and what keeps the leaders up at night. Now, avoiding common rookie mistake. So we have here 5 top mistakes new change managers tend to make. Trying to change everything all at once. Now you're new, you want to impress everybody, you just want to get all the information coming to you. It's all about focusing on building your credibility first. Now, if you take the time to understand the organization culture, the people, knowing who is who, this will help with your credibility. It will help in terms of what you're trying to do. Skipping, skipping listening phase. Listening is a key skill that every change manager needs to have. Stop talking, listening to our stakeholders, right? If you talk and have all the suggestions in the world, you're going to what their pain points are, asking the relevant question. Number two, talk about understanding culture before implementing, right? So if you skip the listening phase, you're going to miss those little nuances about their culture. No, you can go in and you can read the vision, the mission, their objectives, and okay, this is what the organization is about. But some teams have their own individual culture within the team, like a mixture of culture happening. So it's about listening, observing, and what's important to them. Not building alliance early. I I said it before, I'm going to sound like a scratch record. Coffee chats, virtual meet and greet. This is how you're going to identify influencers, champions, right? Yes, you can go through the formal exercise of asking the people leaders to identify the champions, right? But it's important for you to also do some of your due diligence, right? And maybe what the leaders are recommending, yes, you have to take some of you can say, you know what, this is what I've observed through talking with people or something like that. So identifying the champions and the influencers, over promising on timelines. No, we all do this as new change practitioners. The rookie, let me say rookie change practitioners. And it's not only change practitioners. We want to impress people, so we are over promising on what we can deliver within a particular timeline. Take the time to understand the project. Take the time to understand the initiative, what resources are required to do what. Setting realistic expectation. This is how you're going to avoid that by taking the time. And number 5, ignoring the resistance signals, right? Now, what are some of the resistance signals? So let me talk about that. So there are different resistance signals. You have you have the direct resistance signals or statements that you'll hear. And I'm just going to touch on a few. They'll say something like, this will never work. Those are resistance signals. I will try to do something like, we've tried to do something like this before, but it failed. We don't have time for this right now. So those are like direct statements about resistance signals. Then you have the indirect kind of passive statement. And How can you identify this? You talk about, we'll need to think about this a little bit more. And every time you meet with the stakeholder, they need to think about it a little bit more. Or I'm not sure our team will like this, or this is an interesting idea, but you hear that objection coming. So these are like passive statements that you as the change practitioner need to dive a little bit deeper into. And then you have the behavioral signals, which meetings, like in meetings, you have consistent lateness. Okay, if you're a Jamaican, you might be late, but if you're Canadian, you tend to be early. So if I just had to put that in, at the Caribbean, we're on island time. So if you're in, you have to take these resistance signals into context as well, based on where you are around the world. So the meeting behavior, consistent lateness to the change related meetings, multitasking, they're not really listening to what is being shared. And these are behavioral now. So it's something that you have to observe. So in a virtual world, it might be very hard. Asking a lot of what if questions and communication patterns can be delayed response, short, maybe, and probably copying a whole lot of people in an email reply. You have to kind of pay attention to this. So you see, as a change practitioner, there are a lot of things that you really have to look into paying attention to. So these are some of the resistance signal. As I said, when it comes to resistance, we can spend a lot of time just talking about resistance, because every time you hear about change management, you hear something about resistance. So there are behavioral signals, they are participation kind of signal, they are communication statements. So there are so many different signals that you have to be aware of. Now, I want to touch a bit about building your change management toolkit. So if you were on the last webinar, I think my colleague spoke about the stakeholder analysis, and there was another one that I can't remember right now off the top of my head. However, as a rookie, some of the things that we want to recommend to you, and it's essential as a new person that you need to know how to do, is the stakeholder analysis. Try to continuously learn how to do this well, understanding how to conduct a change impact assessment, developing your different plans, your change management plan. Communication plan is key, because on every change management project, communication and engagement is always key. So understanding these. So there are multiple tools out there to learn, but try to get good at knowing how to execute and developing these tools. Reading. We did recommend a few books on our last webinar, but additional. So continuous learning. So read books like Lead and Change, Switch, the Change book. These are some of the books that you'll read and you'll learn widely on change approaches. There are different change approaches, and depending on the project, or different ways people experience change. So if you're new in the profession, it's recommended to just read widely about change. Join different communities. So online resources I have here on Pollard, or on platform, we have a lot of change management resources. And we also, and I always recommend, try to join the ACMP Global. I am an advocate for them. Actively, I am a member of that community. That's a change community I want to be a part of, right? You learn from them. They do have Change Connect. So coupled with our Pollard learning that we offer up to you, there's also the global community that you'll hear from change managers across the globe. No, I did have some technical difficulty, but I want to open this time for some Q&A. So based on some of the things that you've heard, I know a few people here are looking to going into change management. Just feel free to come off mute. I'm gonna stop sharing here so I can see who's on the screen and ask away. What are you worried about? Or feel free to put that in the chat as well if you want. It's a small, intimate group. I just seen the numbers. Feel free to come off mute and tell me what you're thinking about. Anything that you want me to dive a little bit deeper in. All right, go ahead, Rudy. All right, jeez. I was about to ask if asking a lot of you want. All right. So you're asking if asking a lot of questions would be one. All right. So I want you to be intentional about the questions that you're asking, like being curious, right? So if you are, oh, she just joined back. Okay. So I see a question about if asking a lot of questions is one, right? Is a one way to approach. I think what you need to do is to be curious. So what you want to do, you want to understand like why the change. There are some general change question that every change practitioner needs to know. Like you want to know why the change is happening. You want to know what exactly is the change, what is the change. You want to know who will be impacted by the change. You want to know what's not changing. You want to know the risk of not changing. So key, these are five key questions that you need answers to. Now, from these questions, you can explore or go a little bit deeper with these questions. And depending on your change impact assessment, it will feed the type of questions. And I can also share with you like a whole lot of questions, but each situation is unique. The recommendation is to be intentional about your question. Anything that doesn't sound clear or doesn't read clearly, it is not clear. All right. So you ask for clarity. So the next question is I want to ask for new roles. Some say change analyst, some say change specialist. What would the main difference be? Honestly, I do not know. Because the thing about it, when it comes to roles, it really depends on the organization, right? The analysts tend to be where you start, right? So you will be supporting a more senior change manager. So you're doing everything that change manager is doing. You're just probably not asking. You're probably doing more like the operational tasks. So if you're doing the change impact assessment, you'll find that the change manager will lead the session, and then the analyst compare the current state and the future state and bring back that data, right? It really depends on the organization. The specialists, it can be senior role too. They do have senior specialists and junior specialists. But what I've seen in organizations that I've worked with, the specialists specialize in a particular area. So for instance, so I'm working on an SAP project and we have specialists that is focusing on procurement. And we have specialists, and so they know everything in the procurement world, right? And changes related to procurement impact. And then you have specialists focusing on probably onboarding. So specialists just being you probably specialize in a particular area. But in some organization, as I said, it depends on the organization. It's the change specialist and the change analyst really doing the same thing, right? I noticed that most change require a significant amount of experience, and I rarely see junior level opportunities. Could you build that experience for someone with a master's in change? Yes. So let me make sure. So the why? All right. So looking at trends, you mostly see senior roles being advertised, and that is because, if to be honest, I would hire junior person and build their capability. You can build that skill, and how you build that skill is continuously learning. And then you have to convince the hiring manager that you have the ability to execute. The reason is that the project nowadays that they have. So, for instance, a SAP. I'm talking about SAP because I'm currently working in the SAP environment. What I find, being an experienced change person, and they've hired me, say for instance, the testing phase. As an experienced person, you can hit the ground running. You can check what are the things that you need to do, because they're most of the times they're hiring experienced persons experienced to that level. And I understand. And let me see who asked me. And I make sure that as a junior level now, if you get thrown I really have to apologize for this. I finally go on my phone using hotspot. I just wanted to come back to I missed the question. Can you copy the question back in the chat? So the one that I was talking about, to make sure that I answered. Right. So I noticed that most change management roles are looking for significant experience and rarely see junior level experience. Yeah. Yeah. So as I was saying earlier, it's just that most of the hiring process is because they are throwing the senior level in probably the mid, you're starting a project in flight, right? So with a junior role, it's best to start the project at the beginning, but you can also start it within the middle. It's just that you find that a senior person will handle the project better. right? In terms of knowing exactly what to do, what are the things that they need to check for, that these are the things that you need to do before. But you, as a junior person, can learn about all of those and you should be able to tell that story, right? Because they're going to ask you during that interview, they want to see that you demonstrate the capability to hit the ground running. That is the problem, right? So if you want to, if you're a junior person looking to make that next step, continuous learning, ensure that you understand the different stages of change, right? I do recommend you join a change management community so you can see the different phases from a change management approach, like a formal change management approach. And you know the difference between behavioral change, within a process change, technology. You understand that and know which methodology to apply when, or if you're going to do a unique methodology based on the organization, right? Or custom methodology to execute on. So I do recommend continuous learning. And you ask about transferable skills. I believe that most skills. So transferable skills, you have to look at the job that you're now in. What are the things that you're doing? So if you're a customer service rep, looking to go into change management, right? Am I dealing with stakeholders and trying to understand stakeholders' concern? Yes. How do I navigate that situation? You look at that, look at how you work today, you look at some of the skills that are required, like talking to different team members, talking to stakeholders, understanding their impacts. Is that similar to understanding a customer concern? Yes, it is, right? So those are some of, and that's how I can simplify it. That's a transferable skill that you're using that can be transferred in the change management space. So be able to tell that story. What would you advise as the best way to break into the field? So I think I said this earlier. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Join the community, develop your LinkedIn profile, talk about change management, try to meet different change management practitioners, like build your visibility, clean up your resume, make sure that your resume matches what is saying on your LinkedIn profile. I've seen where people applied for jobs, and then when you check on their LinkedIn resume, it's something it's different. You don't want to lie on your profile. It will highlight in the future if you should get a job. But say on LinkedIn what your intentions are. Talk about yourself. There's a little profile section that gives a summary. Read change management book and continue to network and apply. Continuous learning, right? Try to do courses on change management as well. Did I answer that question? I kind of we're way over the time. I'm really sorry. Is there any more questions?
Yes. Yes, there is one you missed here. I did ask, does the practicum training also have the mentorship added to it? Let me just copy it and
Yes.
just
Yes. During the period you are being mentored, coached. Yes. Mhm. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me just wrap up with the just wrapping up with the checklist and then mm, I lost everything on my screen. Oh God, for hotspots. Jeez. I'm having a little bit of difficulty. Just bear with me. Bear with me. Here. Okay, just to to wrap up in terms of, your 90 days success checklist. So we have here the 3 months checklist that you can do. So you have month number one, which is the foundation kind of things that you need to think about completing that organization. Now, cultural assessment, you want to map the key stakeholders and the influencers within the organization. Do that coffee chat with or meet and greet with 5+ stakeholder, right? So do some discovery meeting, trying to understand them, identifying potential wins because you want to create value early, right? Try to just keep an eye out on what's missing and what can I do differently. Well, how can I add value to the position that I'm in? Month two, you're thinking about execution. So you deliver your first change impact assessment. You want to conduct that, trying to understand the change impacts to based on the initiative you're working on. Facilitate your initial stakeholder workshop, right, with the team. Launch the first quick wins. You want to tell them a story of something that you've accomplished in the last the 6 weeks. Build relationship with your project manager and sponsor, right? You want to work closely with your project manager and you want to work closely with your sponsor. Month month three, what you're trying to do is to measure and communicate early results. So it's really paying attention to what you're doing. Handle your first resistance situation successfully. How are you going to do that? There are a number of ways that you can identify those resistance cues. It's like, and I mentioned earlier when we talk about resistance, that's a whole session altogether because there's so many things to learn about identify. Because some of the problems that we have is not being able to identify those cues. Present value to the leadership. And this comes through, okay, I've learned how the different leaders work, not pushing how you work on the leader and presenting the information how they want it, right? I've worked with a leader once that rather me updating through text message, right? Something quick. Just can't be bothered with long emails or just knock on his door and come on and update him. And lastly, secure commitment. Okay, you want to be able to for them to have that confidence in you to work on a next project. And recommended next steps, I think I've said that in terms of, just being a part of the community in general. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I had a few colleagues earlier on earlier webinar. Connect with them as well. right? Different people have different style. You can ask them different questions and join communities, connect with the Pollard community and the ECMP Globe community as well. Thank you for your time. Thank you for understanding our technical challenges that we have today. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Um, if you think of some, I think Adi had her hand up or is it something else? Okay. So, okay. Thank you, Maka. Over to you. I know this was a challenging one.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today, for your time, for your patience. Yes, we really very appreciate each of you. And a huge thank you also to our incredible speaker, Marsha South. Thank you for sharing such valuable insights and sharing real world wisdom to us today. We really appreciate this. And we also just wanted to remind you all that we have the link will be shared at before the end of the day or tomorrow, or just so we can also listen in for places we missed out on. And don't also to forget your check your inbox for follow-up resources we want to share with you, and try to stay connected with us for our next class coming up. You can reach out to us at Pollard to ask questions and how to join. We appreciate your time for joining us in today, and we ask that you have a blessed day. Thank you everyone for joining, and have a good day. Thank you.
Great. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.